Okay, let's see. Hopefully everybody can hop over to this live. Let's see. I'm sorry. I don't know why that other one was having technical difficulties. So if you can find me, if my moderator can shoot everybody over to this one, my apologies. I don't know what happened to the other one. If the moderator can send everybody over this way, my apologies. Um, oh my goodness. Ah, so hello, hello. Can you send them a message and tell them to hop on this one? Do you mind? Uh, ah. Oh, hello. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened with the stream there. It seems to have gotten locked up. So my apologies. My apologies. I don't know if when the dogs hopped on the couch, they totally knocked me out, or what happened there. So here we are. We are on this new one, and hopefully life is fine. So welcome, 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 welcome. Again, my apologies. My apologies for this one. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hi, Michelle. Hi, yes. You got in trouble, didn't you? Somebody jumped on the couch and then broke one of my Frenchie statues. Now that I'm going to have to replace that, but that's okay. That's okay. it's been it's been one of those days so far, and that's okay. Things happen in life. That happens. So let me just send a quick message here. Um, Hang on. So everybody knows to come to this feed. So again, my apologies. Never had this happen before because the other one locked up. I don't know if it just happened like that or what happened. So sorry. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so we will get started here in 2 seconds. And again, thank you for bearing with me. And hopping on over to this side. Again, I've never had it happen like that. And usually you can like come out of the one stream and then re-upload it, but for some reason it wouldn't let me. I had to completely go out of the one that I was in and re-upload a new one. So hopefully people will see that. So anyways, hopefully Dave and Patty will figure that out as well, and find that. Let's see if they can. Okay, so anyways, I'm sure they will get it figured out here soon. Oops, hang on, let's go here. All right. Oh, good, you texted her. Okay, you gave her the link. Good. All right, well, okay. So we started out with a bang, didn't we? Not like one like any other. So that should mean that this is going to be a great show today, because not only did we have our first technical difficulties, actually the last show we had a light go down. So this is our first actual breaking of the dogs breaking something on the set. So that's life of working with pets, right? We love them to death, but when they get in trouble, they get in trouble. If you were on the last live Saturday towards the end, I don't know what, like I said, I have these situations where God love these two. They are so good. They don't, they'll sleep, they're real chill dogs. And then for some reason, when these cameras go on, they are down here, they're ready to go. But then it's like they get so they're like kids. They have to get into stuff, right? And they just Coco started messing with stuff, and she's in the corner and she's scratching stuff, and then all of a sudden she just busted into one of my studio lights, and my one light went flying and crashed, and for those, of you that tune into my channel, I'm actually going to be doing a cooking segment probably tomorrow or the next day. I had a cooking segment where, I mean, everything was going great. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, like Coco jumped up and knocked something off the whole damn table. So you really, honestly, you never know. I had another couch episode. All of a sudden, like they just come out of nowhere and they just jump and knock things over. And I'm like, this is great. This is just absolutely fabulous. So, yeah, it's one of those things where I'm very, very glad that I'm one of those people that rolls with the punches, because what are you going to do? Right. That's all you can do, is just just go with it. So anyways, so we've got a lot of a good topic tonight. I think, if you're new here, again, welcome. Today is Tuesday. Tuesdays are pet loss days, and we try to pick a topic that relates to everyone. Usually Tuesdays are something different, and something that's hello, welcome. Usually it's try to relate it to everybody, but everybody tries to get something out of every show. The main reason for the channel, again, if you're new here, is my mission in life is my slogan is, if you don't have a friend, you have one now. Pet loss and grief is a very, very lonely place. Oh, Patty made it. But pet loss and grief is a very, very lonely place when you're going through it. It is not anything like human grief. And, I want a place where people can go and they can be comfortable, and they know that they are, in a spot where they're supported. So, and it's also one of my missions to, I want to break the stigma of pet grief. Right now society looks at pet loss as, they try to brush it under the carpet, right? And that's not the way it should be. It's not the way it should be. The pet loss, or the pet business, is $1 billion business. And for those of us who have pets, these animals are 365, 24 hours, 365, and we spend, so much money on them, and we take care of them. They're our whole schedule. So when you spend 10 to 15 years, 24 hours of your day with something, loving it, and it leaves you, how can you say that that's not a loss? That it's a very big loss, and it's something that, it's pet grief is different than human grief, because it's a different intimate level. So that's what a lot of people don't understand, and especially people that don't have animals. So anyway, so that's kind of a roundabout way of saying it, but let me get caught up here real quick. Yes. So real quick. So welcome everybody. We've got a lot of new people on here. So thank you for jumping in. If you're new here, yes, tell me where you're from. And I swear, Coco, I love her to death, but good Lord. Say where you're from. If you've been watching for a while, or if you've been, hopping on for a while, just, throw a thumbs up, or just please, just say your name, and or if you've lost somebody, if you have a pet that you've lost, throw their name in there. The only rules that I have on this channel is that everybody's respectful to everybody. Again, this is kind of a safe place for people to ask questions, and oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's just, like I said, this is something that's very, 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 very important. Get up here, girls. But anyways, and speaking of Patty, now that Patty is back on here, is Patty is, let me find Patty here. I will show you. So Patty in the chat, where's she at on there? Well, she's up there a little bit now. And Dave is on here now. Patty and Dave they're from the Chicago area. And actually, I will show you a picture here. This is Patty and Dave down here. It is Patty's birthday today. So happy birthday out to Patty. So happy birthday, Patty. Hello, hello, hello. Happy birthday, Patty. So we will, if you're having a birthday, or if you've had if you have a pet, or, we always highlight pets, please, the moderator will put my email address in there. We spotlight pets. Send in your pet's picture, and we'll spotlight your pet in on one of the shows. We love showing pet pictures. And but yes, happy birthday to Patty. It is Patty's birthday today. Patty owns Violet. Violet is from Chicago as well. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So yeah, so this is Patty. She is in the Chicago area, and happy birthday to you today, Patty. So welcome, welcome. So we are, and these girls, I swear, no. Anyways, but yeah, welcome to everybody. Yes. Oh, thank you. On the last show, we talked about, we had gone and we had gotten some, we had a Saturday, we literally had nothing to do. So we went and we dove in and bought some snails, like aquatic snails, which we never did. We always have dogs and birds and stuff like that. And so we had some trouble keeping these snails alive. So we had to go buy some more snails today. So now we own a lot of snails. And so if anybody knows how to keep snails alive, please put it in the chat, because clearly we're not, as of right now, we're not very good snail parents. So they're very interesting kind of creatures, needless to say. So yeah, there's that. But anyways, so moving on. moving on. Moving on. So kind of let me go on to a couple of things there. I was getting into kind of like our pet loss topic for the week. Oh, and before I forget, we normally pet loss is on Tuesday. Saturdays are our open topic. This Saturday we will not have a live show, and this Saturday will not be a live show. We'll just have I'll just have a regular tape show. This Saturday, the moderator, who is also my daughter, and I are going to a ball in Toledo. So we will be going to this fancy ball in Toledo. So we will not be having a live show. So it'll resume next Tuesday for pet loss. So just be looking forward to that the following Tuesday. So anyways, and if you want a reminder of that, remember the tiara will be at the ball. The next Tuesday will be pet loss. Tiara, reminder, we won't be on Saturday. Anyways, so and it's kind of interesting because we've never done anything like that. So the moderator, who is my daughter, she's 26. She always gets me involved in fun, interesting things like that. So it should be a lot of fun. But anyway, so kind of looking at the topic for this week, I was at work, and I deal. I'm a supervisor where I work, and there's a younger guy right now that is oh my Coco, stop. There's a supervisor, or I'm a supervisor at work, and there's one of the here comes Rosie. Say hello. There is one of the young men there is having his first child, and he's younger, and he had come up to me and he was talking about being nervous about having his first child, which is coming in May, and all this stuff, right? And I started laughing, and I have two kids. I have a 26-year-old and I have a 13-year-old, and I started laughing, and I said, what are you nervous about? And he said, well, I'm nervous, about having, a kid. I'm nervous about having a kid. And I started laughing, and I said, why? I said, you're going to screw up. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, you're going to screw up. I go, just face it. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to screw up. I said, nobody gets it right. There's no rules. They don't give you any kind of, booklet on it. I said, you're going to do something that eventually later down the road, your kid's going to end up in therapy, and they're going to blame you about it. So just face the facts right now. You're going to do something wrong, and they're going to be mad at you about it later on in life. It's going to happen. And, and he just like, looked at me like mortified. And I started laughing, and I said, think about you and your parents. I said, you absolutely love your parents. I said, but your parents didn't do it all right, right? And so, so he said, he's like, well, yeah. And I said, well, how about you asking your parent? How about you like looking at your parents and say, like, okay, what were you like before you were even, what were you like, even like before they were even parents, right? I mean, they were normal people. They weren't these, like strict people, are right. So anyways, but the more I thought about it, I went back to what we're going to talk about tonight with regards to our pet loss, right? And I thought about a couple things. And I thought about, I've been working with pet loss and grief, and I've been working with people for over 12 years. I've talked to people all over the people all over the United States. I've talked to people in other countries. I've talked to celebrities. I've talked to all sorts of people when it's come to their pet loss and grief, right? And you still make mistakes, but I think sometimes you make mistakes with a lot with your own family, right? And as I looked at when it came to like pet loss, I really made, and I can really say that I screwed up. I want to say, out of all the deaths that I've had, I've had all these guys have died, and I've had an additional one that have passed. I think I've probably screwed up maybe twice, really bad, and maybe didn't make the best decision on two of them. Well, no, I probably really screwed up twice on two of them, and I'll explain that. So I think as a parent, and I think that you don't even have to be a parent, because this can relate to anybody. You can, be an aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, whatever. I mean, you can, have kids in your life, and it doesn't even have to relate to a kid. This could be, even a person in your life that you're close to, or whatever. But I think as a parent, as a parent, my role is always to protect, right? And I'm always big on wanting to control the situation and wanting to make sure that everybody is taken care of, right? So anytime it came to the end of life for any of the ones that I've had, as the person in charge of making those decisions, I also have to make those decisions for my family, right? So not only do I have to make them for the dog, I also have to make them for my family. And what I mean by that is, do I have them participate in the end of life, or do I not? Do I choose to take on that last moment by myself, or do I have them take that road with me? So I will say that it's especially when it comes to kids, and a lot of reason why I'm bringing up this topic too is I had somebody write in about it. because they have a child that is maybe like preteen, and they have an animal that's coming end of life, and they're wondering, should they bring their child to the euthanasia, right? And there's a couple different ways. There's not a real good answer for that. You've got to look at it a couple different ways. You have to look at the child. You have to look at you. You have to look at the people that are going to be there. There's a lot of different aspects that go into end of life, and how you want. It's not just a. Oh, okay. 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 All right. So it's not just a, there's a lot of different, when it comes to end of life, there's a lot of different responsibilities as the person that makes that decision. Right. And so, when you're the person that does that, it weighs on you. Right. And, I think that that's where you can make mistakes. And I don't think, okay, going through the one with regards to the one that I just lost back in January, that was my boxer Harley, which was this one. So this is the one I lost this past January. Now, granted, this is when he was a baby. This is when he was a puppy. The baby in the back is now 13. So mind you, this was, years ago. This picture was taken years ago. But these two grew up together, okay? These two were bonded from birth. So, okay, these two were bonded from birth. I was extremely bonded to this dog. I made the decision as mom that when Harley stopped eating, he had to be on certain meds and so forth. When he stopped eating, when he stopped taking his meds, when he went on, I think it was day 4 of not taking his medicine, and he had heart problems and he had to take the medicine or he'd go into heart attack mode. I did not want him to have a heart attack at home. And especially in front of my son, because again, they were like best friends. I made the decision that in the morning to take him to the vet and say goodbye to him. Now, the mistake that I made in it, I went alone, which was fine because all of my animals that I've lost, I took alone. But the mistake that I made was when I came home to a very, very angry, what was he, 10-year-old at the time. I came home to a very, very angry 10-year-old, which rightly so, right? Rightly so. His best friend had died. He woke up, and my son woke up in the morning and his best friend was gone. He went to bed at night. His best friend was still here. He knew his best friend was sick. He knew his best friend was dying. He woke up in the morning and his best friend was gone. The mistake I made was not trusting my son enough to talk to him and have the conversation with him to see if he would be mentally okay with going with me. And kids can go through the process with you of letting animals go at the vet. And I had really honestly never thought about it before until I was confronted with that situation when he was so angry at me for not considering his feelings, and especially at that young of age. And, here I thought I was protecting him, and I was really hurting him by not trusting him, not trusting that he would be okay. Now, granted, I will be very honest, kids say a lot of things, and they don't understand the process. Now, granted, I've been through the process 5 times. I've been very lucky. If anybody's been through the process, it can go a lot of different ways. For the most part, it's a very peaceful process. I've been very lucky, knock on whatever item I have here. It's never gone bad. So, and Harley's passing was very peaceful, very peaceful. Had my son been there, it would have been a very peaceful process. I didn't trust that situation enough. Now, another thing that people have to look at as well is you may be able to, and especially, and this mostly goes with younger kids. This mostly will go with like kids under, I don't know, maybe I would say 7 and under, maybe even younger than that. If you are going to take a younger child with you to, say, a euthanasia, and you're really bonded with that animal, and say you are a very emotional person, you may not want to take that child. It is very, if you know that you are going to be in a place mentally where you don't want that child to see. There's absolutely nothing wrong with showing emotion to your kids. 100% nothing wrong with that. But when you're to the point where you can show so much emotion where it will scare your kids, because you don't want your kids to think that death is a bad thing, because death is a natural thing. Death is a natural process. Death is very sad. Death is extremely sad, but it is a natural process in life. And you don't want them to go and see their support system, their parent, their stability in life, at a point where they're horribly unstable. There's nothing wrong with crying. That's one thing. But if you know that you're going to be at the point where you're so unconsolable that will scare your child, then maybe you may want to reconsider that and have that child stay somewhere. And again, that also might be your determining factor too. If your child is to the point where it may scare them, then yeah, it may not be a good decision. There's also wording too. Another thing with kids too, there's always the wording. Some people make the mistake and say, oh, and they do this a lot too with euthanasia. So like, we put the dog to sleep. Okay, well, yeah, because that's kind of what kids get, right? But then some kids are like, well, I don't want to go to sleep, or, well, grandma went to sleep. Well, shit, well, yeah, sorry. Well, everybody goes to sleep at night. We have to go to sleep. You don't want your kids to be afraid to go to sleep and not wake up. That's the problem with that. And so, wording when it comes to kids it gets a little dicey, right? So you have to kind of feel things. So that was one of the mistakes I had made as a parent when it came to pet loss. And I think, again, I think when we do make mistakes, and just like anything in life, we do it out of, not thinking, I had every best intention, because I didn't want 11 11 years of his life to end like that. I didn't want him to see the end. I wanted my son to remember all of the great times. I didn't want him to see the end. If anybody was going to go through the, sorry, if anybody was going to go through the last part, I'll take that day, I'll take that over and over, because that's what I do. That's what you do when you're a parent or you're an owner of an animal, or what you are. Because when you get something in your life, it's not just in the beginning. That when you bring these creatures into your home, it's not just as a baby. It's a life. It's from the beginning to the end, and it doesn't stop there. So you're in it for the long haul, through the good times to the bad times, and it is what it is. So he was not able to be there for that one. Now, after Harley passed, this is what I was able to learn, from that. With our other one, Sweet Pea. So Sweet Pea was the one on the bottom, She lived, Sweet Pea lived, what was she, 19? 18, 19. Sweet Pea lived very, very long life. That's my son at the top. Sweet Pea, again, if you've been on followed me on the show before, Sweet Pea was one of my best pet losses ever. I wish I could have them all go this way. Beautiful long life. That's my son with her on her last day on this planet. I was holding her wrapped in that blanket, and she sat there with me, and I rocked her until she left this world. And she, it was peaceful, and he was there for that, and everything was fine. And afterward, and he was perfectly fine. He sat with her the whole time, and he was perfectly fine. So that one I did good on. that was a win for me. Where maybe in the past I would have been like, hey, send him to somebody else's house. I know, she's dying. Maybe I would have sent him off, not knowing, maybe being protective, right? But again, these are things that you learn. These are things that you don't know. So I've been yapping this whole time. So let me get kind of caught up here in the is everybody doing okay while I've been yapping all this time? I know I'm going on for a little bit here. I do that sometimes during these shows. So if you're new to the shows, I go on a little bit, but so is everybody having a good time? Everybody, we got a vibe check out here while we're doing okay. I know Coco is being a mess down here I know Coco's being a mess down here, so she may have to get taken out. So, which she probably will have to get taken out here in a second, because she's just doing bad things over here. But everybody's doing good. Okay, good. So, now, okay, so here's another pet death mistake that I made. So here's another pet death mistake I made. And I talked about this one, what was this? Last Tuesday. Last Tuesday was the one death of Cookie. Cookie, this one here. This was my worst pet death. And I explained that one last Tuesday. And my mistake that I made on that one. Now, that one was the sudden one. That's the one where she woke up in the morning and she was paralyzed basically from the neck down. And, she was 5 years old, and I had to make the decision and right on the spot, and I lost her that day. The mistake I made on that was I never really told that story until last Tuesday in detail. I shared it on here. I never really talked about that story until last Tuesday. I shared bits and pieces of it over the years, but that story was so painful to me that I never shared it. And and that Coco, or I'm sorry, Coco, Cookie, that Cookie was the dog's name. Cookie was the moderator's dog. And so the moderator had Cookie, and the moderator was at school when this all happened. So when she came home from school, she had no dog. So there was no way on this planet I was going to tell her what happened. So I had to basically downplay everything. I had to, take my Gen X emotions and take them up here and crush them all down into my soul. And, but for years, I didn't talk about that story. And I think it was, gosh, it's been 2 years now. The moderator, we were driving, and the moderator had brought up to me in the car. She said, I really wish that I was there when Cookie passed away. And I just looked at her, and that's the mistake I made, because I wouldn't wish my worst enemy to be there the day that Cookie passed away. And so, so as a parent, like, I think that, the good thing is that absolutely not. I'm so glad that I was alone on that journey, because again, that was one of the most probably worst days of my life. And I'll be very honest, when I was going through all the stuff with Coco, and her surgery, that's all I kept thinking too was, God forbid I lose this dog or something. I had, the moderator with me, and I'm like, oh God, that's, you think of all these bad things. And I'm like, I wish I was alone, cause you don't want people going through that with you. It's one thing, like I've gone through this now, 6 times, 6 times I've done this. And, I know what I'm in for. And I, my heart is broken 6 times. I don't want that for my family. Now, that's a mistake, right? That's a mistake, because eventually the moderator has her own dog. She's eventually going to have to go through this one day with her own dog. And yeah, death is not a bad thing, but you just, as a parent, you try to protect everybody, right? And Michelle says, yeah, and it's a lonely place. It's a lonely place. And I think that that's part of it too, right? Because it is, you go through the end, and yes, that's a big part of the grieving process, but you're right. And I think that that's another part of it too, is because it is such a lonely place. And again, that's why we have things like this, right? And that's why I say, if you don't have a friend, you have one now, because you want to have people that understand what you're going through, because it's huge. It's huge. And knowing that you have, right? You knowing that you have a community that understands you, that gets you, because I guarantee you go through a loss and you go to work, or, you go to work, you go to school or whatever, there's going to be those people that are like, it's just a dog. It's just a cat, whatever. It's just a lizard or whatever the hell you have. It's just a bird. And you're looking at them like, wow, thanks. Well, yeah, maybe it's a dog, but it's a dog that was there for me for the past 15 years and, never turned its back on me, and was the happiest damn thing that greeted me every day when I walked in. Right. Because people forget that too. They forget that, these creatures love us no matter what, good days, bad days. Where do you get that? You don't get that from people, and that's how you build these like intimate bonds. So, and I will say, here's another thing. Here's another mistake I made. See, but here's the thing. The reason why I bring up my mistakes is because I think a lot of people make mistakes too, right? I think here's a big one too, and this is a huge one with I think other people do this as well. This is a mistake that I made with Harley, but this is one I think a lot of people do with regards to pet loss. And I think it's kind of inevitable sometimes, especially if you have large families. So with Harley, and this has to do with Rosie. So this one has to do with Rosie. Sorry, Rosie. Sorry, Potato. But so the mistake with Harley was, and it wasn't too long after Harley, but after Harley left, and again, Harley and my son were very, very bonded. My son was, having such a rough time. I mean, a good while. He was very, very like going through it. For months and months, when he finally, decided that he wanted to look into adding to his family, right? And, I had said absolutely no more boxers. We have Lola, but I said no more boxers for a lot of different reasons. But I said no more boxers. But then, we started looking at French bulldogs, and we stumbled upon Rosie here. But the mistake I made on that, which again a lot of people do, it's a common thing, is I didn't consult with the other family members. And so I still had people grieving the loss of a dog in the family, and I brought another one in the house without consulting other family members. And that's a mistake. I think when you, and a lot of people think that, when, because pet loss is, when death occurs, it's scary, right? Death occurs, things are out of control, people you love are out of control, grief is out of control, you've got all these different stages, your loved ones are all over the place, they go through the stages at different stages, you're not quite sure, what they're going through, because again, pet loss, different intimate relationships, right? So it's just, you have to make sure that everybody's on the same page, right? You have to make sure that everybody's ready to move on, because if they're not, that can cause an issue. But when that all happens too, people that are not in that grief cycle, if they're watching their loved ones go through it, all they think is, I want to fix you. I want to fix you. I want to help you. I want, how can I help you? How can I help you? Well, what made you happy before? What made you happy before? Oh, the thing that you lost. Well, let me get you a new one. Let me get you a puppy. Let me get you a kitten. And yeah, you know what? Not going to lie. Look up TikTok, look up YouTube. You've got all these like grandmas and stuff that open boxes, and there's kittens and there's puppies and stuff, right? Okay. Yeah. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it fails miserably. So I always will tell people it is not a very good idea to purchase a pet for somebody else that has lost something, unless you have their permission. And I know you're trying to say, well, it's a surprise. Well, yeah, it's also a surprise if they're not ready. And it's very important to be ready, because the last thing you want is that person to go into deeper grief, which absolutely can help happen. Because what will happen is they will go through the cycle where they will start grieving, and then they will start feeling guilty that they'll start loving this new animal. But then they're like, oh, am I disrespecting the one I lost? It's a whole thing. And then you're like, okay, what did I do? And then there's no turning back, because now you have an animal in the house that either you're going to take on or it's going to go to a shelter. So, two very in different situations, unless you really like dogs or cats and you want to take it on. But again, there's a lot of just different things. But again, I think when it comes to even the mistakes that I made, I think everything comes with you make mistakes, but you also learn from them. And I definitely did. And if anything, it taught me that you know it taught me how I can help other people more from what I've learned from it. But all these things came from a good place as well, because I was always trying to protect my family. And but sometimes when you're trying to protect people so much, you end up hurting them, right? Or again, not trusting them, or not trusting their ability to protect themselves. And that, again, that's hard too when you've got smaller kids. And so it gets dicey. Pet loss and grief gets dicey. It's never easy. It's very, very bad. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's fun. It's funny that you say that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, oh my, yeah, well, I was gonna say, this is the one ring that I bought from, actually, I have where's it at here? Oh, I just had, here it is. This is the ring that I bought from Petals and Keepsakes. Well, you got me on that. This is a ring that I bought from, maybe I can get down here. Well, I'll have to put it on there a little bit more. But anyways, this is a ring that I bought from Petals and Keepsakes. And they are on Instagram as well. But they are the ones that will they took all the, I sent them in dog fur from all of the animals that I lost. And they put them all in this beautiful ring. So I have all of their fur and stuff in this ring. They made a beautiful, beautiful ring for me. So I love this. Absolutely love it. I wear it every day. But they also do everything. If you want to do cremation remains, they do everything. So I'll even put their information in the chat after the thing is over. But yeah, they're Petals and Keepsakes. And I will say, because I've done a video on this before, they are a really great company to work with. However, they're also very reasonable, because a lot of the companies out there that they do these diamonds and stuff where they put the cremation remains and so forth, and they're really expensive. They're really beautiful, but they're really, really expensive. But this place is really, really reasonable. Very nice. Again, it's I love it. I think it's beautiful, and it holds up I wear it every day, and I just think it's gorgeous. So, but yeah, so that is my memory ring for my dogs that have passed. So I wear it every day. But yeah, Petals and Keepsakes. But I'll put it in the description on the bottom of the chat after we're done. So, but again, nobody has all the answers when it comes to things like this, right? And but that's okay. I don't think you have to. I really don't think you have to. So, I really don't think you have to. Has anybody on here, have you lost a pet in the past week or recently? Has anybody lost a pet recently? Anything like that? Because like I said, I mean, even, like I said, I'm talking about kids a lot, but it goes the same thing for, okay. Yeah. The moderator says yes. Okay. She lost snails. She lost 3 snails. Was it 3 snails? 3 snails. Okay. Yes, it does count, but you had them for 2 days. I don't know if there was a real emotional connection there. But and then plus I bought you 4 new ones today. So anyways, but yes, okay. Oh, all right. I'll light it. We will at the end. We always light the candle at the end of the show. So yes, I do have we'll light this. Yes, snail lives matter. Yes, I know. We'll light the candle for the snails. So, but I mean, the same thing. Like I said, I talk about kids, but it it goes for, helping a family member that I said it before, like every pet in your family is not going to be connected to every family member the same way. I there was yes, happy. um, they're not. Harley was connected to Brady and myself, but maybe he wasn't as connected to the moderator or, we had, yeah, who else? Like Daisy. Daisy wasn't really connected to the co-producer, but she was really connected to me. And I mean, every animal has a different connection with somebody in your family. And so what that means is once they go, you're all going to be different. You're all going to be grieving differently. And that's okay. Some people get really upset when like their kids don't grieve at all. And that happens because kids don't really understand death. They don't really get it. Maybe they weren't, that connected. That's why they always say like kids should get hamsters and so forth as first pets because they only live for a couple of years and they kind of learn that life death cycle or whatever. But it's, and I always tell people, I'm like, don't be upset at your kid. They're just not at the mental age where they grasp the whole concept like, we are. We're really invested in these animals, right? We're really, invested in everything that they mean to us. We as adults and young adults, we put a lot of meaning to these creatures and so forth. So when they go, it's huge for us. So it's a lot, but yeah, absolutely, it's a lot. It's a lot. But I'm just really glad to see that we've got new people on her. I'm so happy to see every. Oh, and speaking of which, I will be showing. Speaking of Harley, I did find this company, which I will be spotlighting them probably next Tuesday by the time I get it. There is this wonderful company I found on Facebook, and they write these letters from your pet to you, which I'm actually having a letter written from Harley to my son. And they come in these beautiful letters or these beautiful envelopes with these keychain, all sorts. Well, I'll spotlight it on here. But it's from this company. Oh my goodness. I'm going to forget what it's called, but when I spotlight it, I'm going to go over it. I want to say it's called Quiet Moment or something like that. The gentleman that I spoke to that runs it is absolutely fabulous. And I will spotlight all of his information as well, because he had it looked like a little poodle or something that had passed away. And he was in the same kind of situation, and I guess it's a one beautiful thing about pet loss and the journey of it. When you can take something bad and when you can take something bad and you can make something beautiful out of it. Like, I took, 3 losses in a row, and I've been helping people for 12 years, because I didn't want anybody to feel like I felt, or I didn't want them to feel alone, I'm giving back to people what my dogs gave to me, which was unconditional love. And that's all I can do is to honor them every day. So, you think that there should be a day called World Pet Day? April 11th is National Pet Day, and that is coming up. So it's either National Pet Day. I believe it's April 11th. I'll have to look that up. Yeah, but April 11th, I believe, is National Pet Day, and that is coming up. So, and we will be doing something for that. But I'm glad you said that, because there is a National Pet Day. But I believe it's April 11th. If somebody gives it a Google, because it's funny that you say that, because I was just looking at that this afternoon, because there was something that popped up about it. But I mean, this is actually Lola when Lola was a baby, or a baby, a puppy. And Lola, I'll be very okay. There you go. National Pet Day. Yeah, April 11th. I knew it was coming up. I looked at that earlier today. So, oh, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Alexa. Yeah, April 11th. But yeah, this is what I love, and I think that, to me, I think kids should grow up with pets. I think it teaches them responsibility, but I also think I also think it teaches them to love something other than themselves. And um, I think that's important. In a world that I think, especially now, things are so self-centered. I think it's important to love something other than yourself. And here's Rosie. The moderator took this picture of Rosie looking up at our flag, and I AI'd it so to make it in her field of flowers. So, but anyway, so this is Rosie. But and on Saturday, I always do. I will mention this before I do like candle lighting thing. I always do my Frenchie find of the week, and I didn't do it on Saturday, but I will do it now. Um, they had these adorable little plant things at my little Home Depot. So this was my Frenchie find of the week, even though I'm not supposed to be doing that on Pet Loss Day, but I wanted to spotlight this because they're so cute and they came in 3 different colors. But anyways, that was it. But I hope that at least you guys got something out of today with regards to just how to not beat yourself up when it comes to pet loss, and maybe how to handle things with kids, and getting through the tough times, because you're not going to do everything right. Nobody does, right? We don't always do things right. And but what we can do is we can if we're not the one going through it, we can support the people that are. We can protect the people that are. That's the biggest thing I always say, is if you know that somebody's going through something, be their spokesperson. Tell other people no. Sometimes people, when they're grieving, they don't want to tell people, they're embarrassed about saying that they don't want to go out to dinner because they're sad. Be that person for them. Be like, what, we just don't want to go tonight. Be their advocate. But if you're the person that's going through it, self-care. I mean, put yourself first. Sometimes it's not about other people. This is a time when, if you're hurting, you need to take care of you. And it's perfectly okay, and it's perfectly acceptable, and what you're feeling is normal. And if you're here, you're normal. Even if you're not here, you're normal if you're grieving. So, but I hope you are here, and I hope that you got something out of this today, and I hope you'll come back. Like I said, Saturday, we won't have a show just because we're going to this fancy ball in Toledo. But Tuesday we'll be back on for more pet loss. Again, I really hope everybody enjoyed it today. I love that everybody came on today, and I love the interaction. Thank you so very much. Let me light the candle. If anybody has had any pets that have passed away, it doesn't have to be today, tomorrow. Remembering, light the candle for the statue that they broke today, because Lord knows that will probably happen again. But if you lost a pet today, I'm sorry, did I wake you up? Doesn't matter when you lost a pet. This candle is in remembrance of all of the ones that we lost, and we just anytime that you can talk about the ones that have passed away, you are honoring them, and anytime that you can help other people, you honor their memory, and that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So, yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you. If you don't have a friend, you have one now. Please hit the like and subscribe button. I hope you enjoyed everything. Please come back on Tuesday. I will have a kitchen video sometime this week. So there will be, since we're going into Easter, probably Easter dog treats, probably bunnies, because most of the dogs, especially Coco, likes to eat rabbits. She hasn't got one yet, but I'm sure if she could, she would. But yeah, and rest soul of the snails that are in snail heaven, but hopefully these ones will live. um, but yeah, and again, I just, everybody, please be safe out there, and just they again, thank you so much. I appreciate each and every person that signs on here, and to watch me and my goofy dogs and my pajamas, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. You're all wonderful. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your night. Oh, and happy birthday again to Patty. Happy birthday, Patty. Hope you have a good rest of your night. Yay. Bye. Have a good night. See you later. Bye.